Nick Sirianni or Rob Thomson? Which one's on the hot seat? Are either of them on the hot seat? Should they be on the hot seat? I think it's a dumb question, even though I'm asking it, because I think it brings up the answers to it, a very tricky, interesting subject of Eagles Nation versus Phillies Nation. One a little softer than the other. We're going to dive into that. Joint practice versus the Patriots is today. Haason Reddick drama. Sixers, NFL, MLB. Everything is on the table today. Trending in the AM. We are live. Taking all your thoughts and opinions on this and anything else you want to talk about in 60 seconds. And a very good morning, everybody. Welcome to Trending in the AM right here on Edge of Philly Sports. We are live. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. You know the drill. Wherever you are watching, hit that like button, that share button, that follow button, that subscribe button. Basically, just click all buttons you can and share this show out to help get as many people into the show and interact with the show as possible. Greatly appreciate that. I'm your host, Phil Stiefel, every single morning. Right here, just hit that like button or you can shoot me a follow on all social media platforms at Beard of Knowledge. And we got a fun show today, an interesting little conversation, something that got me thinking a little bit yesterday. Nick Sirianni is on the proverbial hot seat to some in Eagles Nation. Rob Thomson should be on the hot seat with Phillies Nation. Who is on the bigger hot seat right now? And it's funny because Phillies Nation and Eagles Nation handle things so much differently. Eagles Nation is a little bit more rah-rah, in your face, pissed off, passionate, lives and dies with every last second of every Eagles game. But the Phillies Nation, Phillies fans, can't criticize anything without you being negative or without you being called out. And it's funny when you think about how that all plays out. So we're going to talk about who's on the hot seat and the difference between Phillies fans and Eagles fans today. Also on the agenda today, Haason Reddick, that weird, wacky, crazy, insane thing that's going on there. Eagles have joint practice with the Patriots today. Also on the agenda, we're going to talk about that. I'm a huge joint practice fan. Always love the joint practices and how they go. Good morning, McGork. How you doing today? Look over here. I'm looking at you. I see you. I'm a happy fan. Bills signed Ben DiNucci. The Bills signed a Italian hoagie. Okay, sounds good. Who will collapse first, Cowboys or Eagles? Well, the Eagles aren't collapsing. The Cowboys already are collapsing, and we haven't even gotten to the regular season yet. So, there's a hot take, weird question to start. The Cowboys are just a disaster, and I love to see it. I don't want to get on the side note of the Cowboys and talk Cowboys, but they are our NFC East rivals. What Jerry Jones is doing with CeeDee Lamb and company there, the guy has completely lost it. And as an Eagles fan, you love to see it. And as long as Jerry Jones is in charge of that Cowboys team, the Eagles, the Commanders, the Giants are always going to look a little bit better of a franchise because, man, just calling out in the public that, I'm not too concerned about CeeDee Lamb. It's comical at this point Listen to Jerry Jones talk. It's kind of like listening to some presidents and former presidents, them talk and how they act in the public eye. Like that legitly is how it feels sometimes when you listen to this guy talk. What's up, Lil G? Good morning to you. Cowboys are asking about trade for Miles Sanders. Really? Who cares? Let's not talk about the Cowboys. Phillies will collapse first. Yes, Marshawn. So you're in the conversation. You love fun, controversial topics. I am asking you, who's on the hot seat? Nick Sirianni and Rob Thomson. Whose seat is hotter right now? Who is more likely to get canned after a collapse? And it's funny. I've run a poll on Twitter right now. It's still going, about 100 votes so far. The results will surprise you. But when you ask anything about the Phillies Nation is like, oh, it's okay. It's a long season. This is just leveling out. This is a tough stretch. Rob Thompson's great. It's not Rob Thompson's fault. It's all the players' fault. But when you go to Eagles Nation and you question last year's Eagles collapse, Nick Sirianni needs to be fired. Nick Sirianni has to be fired. Nick Sirianni lost the locker room. Nick Sirianni this or that. It wasn't the players' fault. It was the coach's fault. And it's so funny to listen to the difference between Eagles Nation and Phillies Nation when they talk about their teams and how they can't be objective about it. I know it's not all Rob Thompson's fault. This Phillies, what are they, 24-30 in the last 54 games? That's a huge chunk of games. 54 games is a third of the season, 33% of the season. And they're completely falling off a cliff. But it's not Rob Thompson's fault. It's the players' fault. Nick Sirianni loses, 6 or 7 games, including the playoffs last year. Nick Sirianni's got to go. Jalen Hurts has got to go. But the Phillies are struggling. Bryce Harper, no. It's everybody else. And I just think it's kind of contradictory of Philly sports fans that nothing, that there's no consistency on how we criticize these guys. John Tortorella of any coaches on Tortorella is on the hot seat, Rick. Really? He's kind of like the rebuilding coach. I don't know if he's on the hot seat, but maybe I haven't paid close enough attention. Eagles 1, Star Trek Commanders 2, Giants 3, Cowboys collapse. Dude, that would be hilarious if that was the case. I don't know if I'm ready to put the Commanders up there just yet, but we'll see in a couple weeks when we make those predictions. Both seats are hot. Robbie will get canned first in baseball. Absolutely agree. If they're getting fired, baseball season ends first. He'll get fired first, Marshawn. I get that. But there's a lot of Phillies fans, Phillies Nation. It's not Rob Thompson's fault. We love Uncle Rob. Topper, He's the glue that holds this team together. Well, the team's not being held together. And I think it's comical that you cannot put to the mass amount of Phillies fans any of the blame for this Philly stretch. Again, it is not leveling out. This is not a 5-game stretch. This is not 10, 12 games. This is 54 games of below average baseball. I'm going back to the London series. 54 games. They are 24-30. That's a massive amount of below average play when you've got a $300 million payroll. Let's also look at $300+ million, one of the highest payrolls in the history of baseball. That's why, to me, it's comical. And I know when you're paying that many big-time players, the players have to perform. The coach can't do it. There is a reason a coach is there. It's not just to write the lineup card. When the going gets tough, you've got to do something. You've got to shake something up. And the Phillies aren't doing it. And Rob Thomson isn't doing it. Good morning, Duck. How you doing today? Flyers quit on Torts and this team missed the playoffs after being, I don't know. I get it. It was partially Torts. Was it Torts' decision to change the captain so late in the season? I think that's what he did. The Haason Reddick conversation is 1,000% on the agenda today. Man, Howie Roseman sort of for the win because we're not going to get a second-round pick. We might only get a third-round pick if he doesn't play for the Jets this year. Haason Reddick wants out of New York Jets already. Howie traded – what are the odds of this? Howie trades a third-round pick for Haason Reddick or traded Haason Reddick and got a third-round pick. then calls Joe Douglas up. It's like, yo, we'll take him back, but I'll give you a 7. That would be the most Howie Roseman thing of all time. If Howie Roseman brings Haason Reddick back and it still profits a third. It's so funny. So funny. Sirianni has had his team in the playoffs every year. He's been here once in Super. Yeah, so and Rick, this is a great comment from you because I know I'm going to put up the Twitter poll in a minute here so you see the results. But Rick, like this is the kind when I say, this to people, like, well, this is my answer when people say, well, Rob Thomson has had this team in the playoffs now 3 years in a row because they're going to make it this year and the World Series. Well, that's what Rob Thomson or Nick Sirianni did as well. But it's not okay for Nick Sirianni to do it. That's not good enough for Nick Sirianni. Eagles fans don't find that good enough, but Phillies fans do. And again, it's accepting not perfection from your coaches, from your teams. You only win these days if you can adapt and reinvent. Do we trust either to do so? Well, Nick Sirianni is trying to adapt and reinvent or reinvent himself as the CEO coach, bringing in more people. So Nooms, Nick Sirianni is trying. What has Rob Thomson tried to do to adapt to the struggles? Nothing. When you're the head coach manager, you will always be the first to go. Bryce struggling, who cares? Jalen throwing more picks than Phoenix. Yeah, but see, the thing is, in Phillies Nation, they don't want to blame Rob Thomson. They want to blame the players. But in Eagles Nation, we blame everybody. Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni. Everybody's got to go. This might sound crazy, but I kind of feel like Phillies Nation is soft compared to Eagles Nation. Well, definitely compared to Eagles Nation, but definitely compared to what Philadelphia fans are known for. They have strong starts, they have slow or bad back halves and vice. They always start slow and then pick it up. But we're not talking about a 20-game stretch, a 10-game stretch. We're talking a 50-plus game stretch, Doc. This is a huge chunk of change. And it's one thing if you build up to the playoffs. But if you go into the playoffs ice cold or with question marks, it makes things a little bit more difficult. At least that's my opinion. 49ers signed who? Who cares? Whoever they signed, who cares? Phillies have 69 wins. Yes, Mitch, we're 13 again. I know. Giggity. Giggity. That's my best I could do. What's up, Stevie? How you doing? Haason Reddick is that one guy at work who thinks he should make more than the CEO. Yeah. Haason Reddick, man. It's a comical situation that's going on in the Jets. And I love it. And see, this is the thing here about the Haason Reddick thing, or the CeeDee Lamb thing, or the Brandon Ayuk thing, or any of the other situations. You don't see this in Philly with the Eagles. It's Howie Roseman's on the ball. He takes care of this shit. I told you back in May the Phillies were feasting on a soft schedule. Now they're getting exposed. K1, that's possible. That's very possibly accurate. We may have been wrong, but now you can't use that excuse to Phillies Nation. They're saying, no, it's okay. The players this, or they're just leveling out, whatever. This is the problem. I'm willing to admit I was wrong to you, K1. I was wrong. The Phillies were playing a weak schedule. Now they've got a weak stretch of games coming up. But the team, just like the fans, don't have confidence in themselves. So you got to expect maybe some struggles. To be fair, K1, you didn't want to talk. Yeah, that's true. Nobody ever wanted to talk Phillies. Now that they're struggling, everybody wants to talk Phillies. I didn't and still don't. Okay. What is the best baseball city and where does Philly rank among all cities when it comes to baseball? I mean, Chicago, Boston, Chicago for the Cubbies, Boston, the Yankees. I guess they're better baseball cities. Everyone says St. Louis is this great baseball city. So maybe St. Louis, but Philadelphia is a top 5 baseball city for sure, in my opinion. Not the best, but one of them up there. Topper legit has done 0 improvements. Players, coaches are weak when they're in slumps with no answers. Exactly. Players, coaches are just basically front-running coaches, Darth Boo. That's all. That's all a player's coach is. They don't know how to manage when the going gets tough, but they're great when the going is good. That's all it is. Topper's never faced this kind of adversity before, and we're seeing he doesn't know how to handle it. Now we still got, a month and a half left in the regular season. He's got time-ish to figure it out, I guess. But, man, we're running out of time. We're 6 weeks left till the season ends. We blame Jalen Hurts. I thought his struggles were Brian Johnson. Look, I'm not saying we. I'm saying we as the whole group. There are a lot of Eagles fans that are still anti-Jalen Hurts, and that's fine. But I'm just saying, like, the same people that want to blame Jalen Hurts for whatever also don't want to blame Bryce Harper. Don't want to blame any of this JT Realmuto, Trey Turner. Trey Turner, since the All-Star breaks, hitting like $170. No, we can't blame anybody. They got to do better, but we can't blame anybody. They'll figure it out. The blind confidence in the Phillies, because they made the playoffs and a World Series in the last 3 years, but the lack of blind confidence in the Eagles, even though the Eagles have done the exact same thing as the Phillies. It's just shocking to me. Phillies have a winning record against they do have a winning record against above 500 teams. I've seen all the numbers, but their record versus winning teams versus non-winning teams, drastic difference. They are an average team, the Phillies, right now. Maybe below average, Rick. But we can criticize every little detail about the Eagles, but we can't criticize one thing about the Phillies. One problem is players that are getting hot aren't staying hot as long. That's what happens. Oh, that's an interesting way of putting it. Not the old part. They're not staying hot. They're not getting on a big hot streak. St. Louis is a great baseball team. They don't have football anymore. Is that you think that's why they say that, K1? Allergies are going to be a bitch this week. They always say St. Louis is a great baseball town, but I don't understand it. I don't know. I didn't know Phil speaks French. Oui. Parlez-vous français? That's it. Oui, and parlez-vous français. That's all I got for you. You can never blame Joe Hendry. I believe in Joe Hendry. I do. It's the Olympics hangover, Marshawn. I was sitting there last night on my couch after work. It was like 9 o'clock. I turned the TV on. There's no Phillies game on. There's no Olympics on. Raw stinks anymore. Like, what the hell do I watch? The Police Academy was on. So we watched Police Academy. Because you can never go wrong with prime 80 Steve Guttenberg, right? You just can't. I feel St. Louis is not a good baseball city compared to Philadelphia. Yeah, I've never been to St. Louis, Bruce. Never have been. Not sure if I'll ever cross paths with St. Louis ever in my lifetime. So I don't know. But that's what people say. So I'm just answering the question before me, and I'm saying St. Louis probably ranks up there. If you asked 1,000 people, I'm sure a bunch of them would put St. Louis in their top 5. That's just what I said, based off of what I've read and heard. I don't care about a team of over 500 record. I care about our record against teams on a hot streak and playing well. I just want our team to win. How about win some series, not just against the Dodgers, against other teams? And our winning record against over 500, well, we're 5-1 against the Dodgers, so that definitely helps that record. For some reason, the Dodgers are an issue. Missouri is where the Negro Baseball League Hall of Fame is. That's hardcore baseball love. That's good. One of my old employees just got a job as a soccer coach for the University of Missouri. See what happens when you work for me at the pizza shop? You become the women's soccer team at Missouri's coach. But that's awesome. I like that. Aren't they adding, Mista, more of the Negro League records to like baseball records and stuff? Isn't there a big push to really legitimize the Negro Baseball League in baseball records and hierarchy nowadays? I think I read something about that recently. Does Joel bring home a gold medal too, or is it the kind with chocolate in the middle? I don't know. But I think it's hilarious how many people inside of Philadelphia, media and fans alike, are so critical of Joel Embiid winning a goddamn gold medal. Sixers notes for today in the conversation. Sixers' first game of the season is home against the Milwaukee Bucks. Just throwing that out there. We get to see Paul George, not Tobias Harris, try to lock up Giannis Antetokounmpo. Game 1. Gotta love it. Can't wait. October 23rd. I think part of the forgiveness for the Phillies still have the World Series appearance and fight aura around them. The Eagles are 2 years away from a Super Bowl. The Eagles and the Phillies went to the Super Bowl basically within a year of each other. So it's basically the Eagles went playoffs, Super Bowl, playoffs. The Phillies have gone World Series, playoffs. And they'll make the playoffs again this year. So I think I think you're off here, Duck. I think that the Eagles have the same track record over the last 3 years that the Phillies do. They really do. It's kind of annoying to me. The ebbs and flows of baseball say the Phillies team will get hot going toward. Why? Why will they just get hot when they have played not bad for 10, 12, 20 games? They've played bad for 54 games, Rick. We should be questioning them, not saying, it's all good. They'll get it going. Last year when the Eagles went on their bad stretch, we weren't saying every week, oh, but they'll get it going next week. No, we were criticizing them for free fall. Phillies are free fall. But they'll figure it out. Why do you have such and this is a very honest and serious question, Rick. Why do you have such blind optimism that they'll figure it out? Blind faith that they'll just turn the corner at any given moment. And they may. They got a very easy stretch of games coming up over the next couple of weeks. They may right the ship. And they should with that talent on the team. But why is there blind confidence that they're doing? Why can't we question them? That may or may not be an over 500 team. Who are you talking about there, dude? Sorry. Phil, I lived outside of St. Louis for 4 years as my father was at Scott Air Force Base, and I promise it is bad compared to Philly. Okay, that's fine. That's firsthand knowledge, firsthand information there, and I love that there. Infield looks like Keystone Caps and Topper is just sending thoughts and prayers. Look, Bryson Stott can't hit the broadside of a beach ball right now. And what's he do on Sunday? He bumps him up to the 5-hole. That don't make sense. That's not a manager holding players accountable. Trey Turner didn't run out a ground ball, double play the other day. That's not held accountable. Embiid right now would be grabbed up by any team out there. Of course he would be. Embiid's one of the best players in the NBA, Duck. Of course he would. But yet we hate on Joel Embiid. Home against Glenn, must win. I know, yeah. You got Paul George's debut. You got the Milwaukee Bucks, and you got Doc Rivers in the house, game 1. Dude, the stories write themselves. Will Glenn Rivers be fired before game 1 of the season? Who knows? Man, the Bucks just, for as much talent are on the Bucks, they blame their coaches for everything, and they fire their coaches left and right. I think the Bucks are going to, when they fire Glenn Rivers this year, Nooms, and they will fire Glenn Rivers this year, what will that put them? 4 coaches on the books? You had Budenhouse. You had the guy after him. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. Glenn Rivers. I kind of feel like there's another one there. They're going to be paying 3 or 4 coaches at the same time. It's pretty comical. Doug's Super Bowl win only brought him a 2-year window. Yeah, someone said to me the other day, Marshawn, you can't fire Nick Sirianni. He just went to the Super Bowl. You can't fire Rob Thomson. He just went to the World Series not long ago. Doug Peterson was fired after winning a championship. Nick Sirianni and Rob Thomson haven't won championships yet for this city. So why is it okay to criticize Nick and not Rob? Last year, they were much closer to the World Series than the Eagles. They were. They got to the NLCS. I get that. That's fine. But they've still been winning. They were the best team in football, the Eagles, last year through 12 weeks of the season. And they fell off the final third of the season. And I know someone's going to say, well, a third of a football season is different than a third in baseball season. I get it. I'm going off percentages. And a third of the football season collapse versus a third of the baseball season. We ain't getting that close to the World Series right now. Not this year. Not the way this team's playing. Not with our pitching staff. Not with our offense. Lackadaisical. So when the Phillies fall in the NLDS this year, Rob Thomson should be fired. If the Eagles don't get to the championship game this year, Nick Sirianni should probably be fired. Or if we're going to support, if the Phillies lose in the NLDS and everyone makes this campaign to keep Rob Thomson, but yet the Eagles lose in the championship game and everyone blames Nick Sirianni and say, fire Nick Sirianni, I'm going to have the same conversation again. The two different narratives that they have. And I really think it comes down to the type of fan of a baseball fan versus a football fan. Babe Ruth was part black. He was just so fair-skinned he could pass. I don't know anything about that. Never heard anything about that. Baseball is a marathon. I know. Football is a sprint. I know people are going to use that as an excuse. So you have blind faith because, what are we? How many games in a season? We're 4.5 months into a 6-month season. There's only 6 weeks left, Rick. So it means they have to really turn it around really fast. And I don't think that there's any signs that they are. The fact that we are begging and hoping for Taijuan Walker to be back in the rotation, that should tell you how bad things have fallen for the Phillies right now. You got graphics of Bryce Harper floating around like he went on a Wednesday night Widener Wednesday at Bootleggers. If you know, you know. That's what he looked like. He had a bender at Bootleggers. You don't look like a guy that's pissed off that his team's losing left and right. Phil, I feel you are right about us not being as good anymore, even if we have superstar players. That is why we know Thompson is the problem. You've got one of the biggest payrolls in baseball, one of the biggest payrolls of all time, the biggest Phillies payroll of all time. You've got superstar players. You've got multiple players making $25, $30 million a year. And not one of them is willing to step up on the field or in that locker room and do anything. So that's when the manager has to step up and step in. But Rob Thomson is that little league coach. Don't worry, slugger. We'll get him next time. We criticize Nick Sirianni for his cliches all the time. And sometimes even to me, the cliches in Nick Sirianni become a little too much. But that's a problem. But Rob Thomson with, all right, slugger, we'll get him next time. That's okay. We can't criticize Rob for that. It's like these stories are so similar. Yet the reaction to the two stories are completely different by the fan bases. I think it's also a substantially longer season in baseball, so it seems like we have time. We've got 6 weeks or so left of the season, Doc. We don't have time. Like if you struggle in April or May, you've got June, July, August, September. We're halfway. It's August 13th. We're almost halfway through August now. We got 6 weeks left. That to me that's the reason to me why I want Phillies Nation to freak out. This is not half the season left to figure out our problems. We got 6 weeks left to get healthy and figure out our problems. 6 weeks out of 6 months is left, and that's it. Sixers are lucky to have Embiid. He's a general. Absolutely agree. No doubt that. Under 500 teams don't make playoffs in baseball. Okay. Of course. I mean, someday, if they keep adding more teams to the playoffs, maybe they will. I hope we get a new manager soon as we have a better chance to make it to it. Look, I don't know who the next manager could or would be. And I'm not sure we should fire Rob Thomson. But something's got to give. The fact that we needed a song to bring the locker room together last year, the last 2 years. And I got people saying on Twitter, well, bring back Dancing on Your Own. If it takes a song to solve all your problems, stupid, but bring a goddamn song back. Start playing. If I'm Bryce Harper and we lose tonight to the Miami Marlins, I'm walking in. I'm pulling out I was going to say the boombox, but okay, not a boombox. It's not my iPod anymore. What do you use? Yeah, I'm going to whip out my iPhone. And I'm going to click in my phone here. I'm going to connect it to the Bluetooth speaker in the locker room, and I'm going to hit play on Free Fallin' by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Maybe that'll send a message to this team. Absolutely. Dougie P got fired because there was a problem in the office. I know. There's not a win there, even with a Super Bowl ring on your face. Look, I get it. The Doug Peterson situation was a little different. You still fired a Super Bowl winning head coach 3 years after he won a Super Bowl. The first Super Bowl in the franchise history. You still fired him after 3 years. To me, that's still, I know why. I understand what happened. I don't agree with what happened, but whatever. But doesn't make it right. Trout and Harper go down as the greatest baseball players to never win a championship. So that's saying, mister, that the Phillies aren't winning a championship. What's there, 7 years left, 8 years left on Bryce Harper's deal? If the Phillies don't win a World Series in Bryce Harper's time here, oh, my God. Oh, that would be brutal. Brutal, mister, brutal. I feel only Kimbrel hurt the Phillies more than Thomson, and I feel Thomson should apologize. No. Kimbrel did hurt the Phillies last year. Rob Thomson hurt Craig Kimbrel by putting Kimbrel in the spot. Rob Thomson, the stubborn-ass manager he is, I have to put Craig Kimbrel in there in the ninth, even though I know he's got nothing left in the tank. So if you're going to blame anybody, you blame Thomson for Kimbrel's collapse last year. The fact that, go back and look at his usage last year. In the month of July, he was trotting Kimbrel out there 4 out of every 5 games. He pitched more innings in the regular season last year, I believe, in the previous 10 years of his career. Morey is more on the hot seat than both combined. That is very possible, Mitch. That is very possible. For sure. I don't disagree. You want to throw a curveball into my discussion for the day? Daryl Morey should have been fired already, and you know my opinion on that. 1,000%. I wouldn't even have let him run this offseason. We'll get into the Sixers. Their first game's not until late October. But I think the Sixers have more issues than people realize right now. And while Daryl Morey put a few good pieces on this roster, I still think we lack a lot of depth in a lot of places. And I think we're going to have more issues this season than people realize, unless Joel Embiid, Paul George, and Tyrese Maxey all play at MVP level. Then who knows? Phillies win the World Series this year. Eagles win the Super Bowl this season. Rick, I love the optimism. But, Rick, I feel like we have been saying this for 3 years straight now. And it hasn't come true yet. I guess the third year's the charm. I think the narrative has to do with the type of fan. Diehard baseball fan versus diehard football fan. Yeah, I think there's a different mentality in the diehards in each sport. A different mental approach to the diehards in each sport. Smash Mouth sport, Smash Mouth fan. Baseball's not Smash Mouth sport or Smash Mouth fan. There's something else, Steve, and I think that is part of it for sure. And this is not to knock Mista, who I love Mista, but Mista's, talking yesterday about concussions and, hitting harder and less. No, don't worry about extra padding on the helmets because it's the old school mentality of football. And there's a lot of football fans, a lot of Eagles fans that still have that outdated mentality. And I think that goes into the type of fan a football fan is versus a baseball fan for sure. I would make them the Dan Marino, the Phillip Rivers of baseball, the Justin Herbert of baseball. Much different breeds. I think you're onto something too. It comes down to the optics, Phil. If Nick Sirianni wasn't acting like a tool on the sideline half the time, he wouldn't be looked like as a cheerleader. All right. Well, what about the optics that Rob Thomson looks like he's sleeping in the dugout? You want to talk optics? Doesn't it look like, dude? I really thought it was a turning point. It was a couple weeks ago. It was a really bad umpired game, and Kevin Long got all fired up and thrown out from the dugout. Have we ever seen Rob Thomson, maybe once or twice in the last 3 years, really get fired up and take one for his team? He just sits there with his arms crossed, watching baseball with that little lip protruding out there. And the Randy Moss. 2022 was about just-in-time health. 23 wasn't much different. Topper's record as manager is really good. Yeah, he's got a very good regular season record, Rick. All that matters in my book is championships. And I'm not saying if you don't win a title, you instantly get fired. I get that. But how you don't get to the championship matters. If they fall short again this year for the same reason, going cold because of poor decisions, because your players aren't motivated, you got to make a change. Yeah, I agree. We are not bringing back that song. No way. No how. No, 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 no. Doug P flew a little too close to the sun. Yeah, his wings fell off. Yeah, I got it. Just get us a manager that doesn't let his players walk all over him. Thomson is scared of Schwarber. That's why he won't get a real leadoff hitter. Look, I got nothing to complain about with Kyle Schwarber, the leadoff hitter right now. He's probably the best. Him and Alec Bohm are the only two actual guys that are actually still producing at the plate right now. Just saying. He's hitting near 300 since the All-Star break. I have no problem with Kyle Schwarber right now. He's the last guy to complain about on this team. But yeah, Rob Thomson doesn't know how to motivate these guys. He doesn't know how to hold them accountable. I don't know if Nick Sirianni holds them. Nick Sirianni will dress you down on the sideline. I think there have been problems with that in the past. People don't like that. Team missed it. Smash Mouth fans over here. Everyone else. Smash Mouth fans? All-Star. Get your game on. Girlfriend. Hey now. You're not. That's Smash Mouth like the. Then he passed away. Thomson got thrown out a few weeks ago. He was hot. Home plate ump was very inconsistent that day, and he was speaking for everyone. I missed the one that he got thrown out the other day. The definition of crazy is Robbie. Yeah. I don't know if he's crazy. He took out top seed Braves team 2 years in a row. And the Braves and how the Braves performed the last 2 years is looking a lot similar to what the Phillies look like this year, Rick. That's why I kind of have this feeling that the Phillies are going to be taken out very quickly this year because they're playing Braves baseball right now. Yeah, whoever that is on Facebook, I'm not going to share your link. You're an idiot. Walker returns to starting lineup tonight, so everything is fixed now. Yeah, exactly. Sirianni should coach the Phillies, and Thomson should coach the Eagles. Yeah, I wonder what would happen there. What's up, Keith? How you doing? Rob Thomson shouldn't be on any hot seat. Okay. Why? Nick Sirianni is to a lot of fans. Nick Sirianni's had just as much success as Rob Thomson. His record is just as good as Rob Thomson. He's taken us to a Super Bowl just like Rob Thomson, a World Series. Playoffs every year, just like Rob Thomson. So why is Nick Sirianni to some people on the hot seat, but Rob Thomson, it's not his fault. He's fine. He's good. I'm going to give you a second to think about that. Give you a second to think about that answer. But you should not give a second to thinking about where to get your tickets for your next sporting event, concert, or theater that you want to go to. Go to the best. Family-owned and operated since 1946, SherryTickets.com. Great prices, no hidden fees. The price you see is the price you pay. Why overpay with the rest? Save with the best. SherryTickets.com. Use special promo code EOP10 at checkout and get you an additional 10% off along with the already great pricing. Again, SherryTickets.com. Promo code EOP10. Don't overpay with the rest. Save with the best. SherryTickets.com. Again, you guys can't see me, doing my I forgot to take the picture off. You can't see me. I'm talking like this. Go to the best. Save with the best. I should just do the ad reads with the ad in a small picture so you can see all the hand gestures I make when I do this. There's a thin line between idiotic and crazy. Football fans walk that tightrope. Absolutely agree with you, mister. And I really think that is a part of the issue or part of the problem or part of the answer to my question. And my question is who's on the hot seat or whose seat is hotter. But I really think the question brings into the conversation how Phillies fans and how Eagles fans react to their teams on a regular basis. And that is where I'm going with this conversation to an extent here today. That was a Smash Mouth segue, big fella. Hey, yeah. I never thought I'd be singing Smash Mouth on Trending in the AM. Like I said, didn't that guy pass away? Didn't he pass away? I think didn't he have like a drug problem or something like that or an alcohol issue? I forget. I saw Smash Mouth in concert at one of the Y100 festivals once, It was the worst band live I've ever seen. And I used to date a girl that took me to like the Q102 things all the time. And there was a lot of bad musicians at that. Smash Mouth may be one of the top 2 or 3 worst bands or groups or artists I've ever seen live. And I know who some of them are. Yeah, that was a good ad read. That was a good segue. You want to shake up this team, just fire Rob and bring in Uncle Charlie. I wish Uncle Charlie. I wish. But Uncle Charlie is the same kind of coach that Rob Thomson is. And you know what? Uncle Charlie, I'll let him slide because he won me that World Series. If Rob Thomson would have won us the World Series, I would have let him slide a little bit more. But he hasn't kept this team together long enough to get that championship. Second preseason game is Thursday. Are you playing your? I don't know if I'm playing them. I don't know, Steve, about the preseason game on Thursday until I see what happens today. 10:30, joint practice with the New England Patriots. Love the joint practice. Joint practices are one of my favorite things because you get the ones going up against the other team's ones in a controlled environment. No more Quinion Mitchell against A.J. Brown. I know who wins a joint practice or who doesn't win a joint practice. It's kind of similar to, ESP keeping track of Jalen Hurts' practice stats. Do you really win a practice? But I need to hear the reporters say, without a shadow of a doubt today, after practice, that the Eagles dominated the Patriots in practice. Because the Patriots stink. The Patriots are a bad football team. The Patriots might not win 3 games this year. So if we want any count, and if the Eagles dominate practice today, you might not need the starters. I'd be fine without them playing. But if there's even an inkling of not smoothness today from our ones in practice, then I'm playing them 2 or 3 drives on Thursday. Now, here's something. I wrote this down. And it goes into this conversation. So we're already at the vibe on how to run this team. Vic Fangio wanted his starters to play. Vic Fangio got his way. His starters play. Kellen Moore said, no, I don't want my starters to play. Kellen Moore didn't get it. 2 coordinators with 2 completely different philosophies on how to manage their players in the preseason. Just going to throw that out there into the universe. Sirianni is worse because last 6 weeks of last season, the Eagles didn't just lose. They may have been the worst team in the NFL. Well, the Phillies are getting their asses whooped. They gave up 25 runs in the last 2 games, Jack. The Phillies look exactly like the Eagles looked at the end of the season last year. It is more of a gladiator. And I think that's part of the fan emotional aspect of it. I don't know about intellectual sport baseball, but more, I don't like the use of the word intellectual there. I don't think that's the right word. I'm not positive, though, on what the right word would be there. But I get what you're saying. I knew you were talking about. Oh, my God. We got Facebook people sharing links to God knows what kind of broadcast, nonstop. The hell, people. I think he was just in a Taco Bell commercial. Who? Who's in a Taco Bell commercial? I want to know why Kevin. Oh, the Smash Mouth guy? I thought I read that. I want to know why Kevin Long hasn't shortened up Stott's swing. In-season adjustments complicate things, but come on, hell, I will take the same average and his first half. Yeah, absolutely. Stott has fallen off a cliff, without a doubt. So is a lot of the team on offense, though. Uncle Charlie has balls. I mean, Uncle Charlie benched Jimmy Rollins, for 3 games once in a stretch for not running out a ground ball. So you are right, Steve. Carl died Monday at age 56 from acute liver failure. Yeah, I thought so. I just recently, I thought it was like weeks ago. Maybe he was dying weeks ago, and yeah. That was an old article. I cut and paste. Okay, so he did die. Yeah. So yeah, from September. I thought so. It's back to the early 90s time for the Pats, the pre-Bledsoe days when Scott Zolak was constantly on his ass. There's some names right there. But also the best names right there, but the best name in traveling and tailgating for your team is phillysportstrips.com. They are the premier travel team. They are the premier tailgate team. And they had this great trip to Brazil to see the Eagles week 1 against the Packers. It's sold out, unfortunately. But they got other great Eagles takeover trips where you can go support the Eagles on the road to Tampa Bay in September. You've got New York, the Meadowlands in October. Saquon's return to New York. That'll be a great bus trip. We got a trip down to Baltimore to see the Ravens and the Eagles. MVP versus last year's MVP versus this year's MVP. Of course, Dallas week in November. Let's go to Dallas and cheer on our Eagles and tell every Cowboys fan how much they suck. BCP makes its first appearance. Guys, phillysportstrips.com. Go to their website, sign up, let them know EOP Trending the AM sent you, and support your team with the premier travel team in the market, phillysportstrips.com. What was that? Per Adam Schefter, Washington Mariners signed veteran wide receiver Martavius Bryant. Okay. Brazil. Yep. We're just going through all the comments. Most Washington move ever. Yeah. Eagles wide receiver still have a problem. I think the Eagles are going to have to make a major move at wide receiver. I don't know what you guys think about that, but I think a wide receiver has to be added sooner rather than later. Whether it's a wide receiver for depth, whether it's a trade, whether it's a waiver wire pickup, they need help. And I know there's reports of John Mechie, the third from the Texans. Like, I don't understand the hype, why everyone saw that tweet from, I forget who put out that report that the Eagles and Texans are talking John Mechie again. I mean, he's a rookie. He was a rookie last year. He had like less than 20 catches last year. What's the hype around John Mechie and why everyone's so pumped and hyped for the Eagles to make a trade for him? Could someone explain him to me? Because I'm not sure. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't know anything about the kid. I don't know where he came from, what his deal is, but there was a lot of Eagles fans there. But really, we got behind A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, we don't need a third wide receiver when they're healthy. But if one goes down, we're screwed. Johnny Wilson is all right. John Ross might not make the team. Aeneas Smith ain't making this team. Paris Campbell hasn't practiced yet. Britton Covey, love the kid. But they're your 5 wide receivers behind your top 2. Hell, Greg Ward's available out there. Go get Greg Ward. Somebody's got to be brought in here. We need depth in this position. And honestly, the more I think about it, the more scared I get about our wide receiver room. They need a third wide receiver, period, not a third stringer. They need a slot guy. They need somebody that can start with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Mechie was a first-round talent. Oh, okay. So, where did he go to college? I don't know anything about this kid. He played 16 to 17 games. I looked up his numbers from last year. He played in 16 games. He didn't start any. He missed 1 game. So I don't know much about him, K1. Alabama. Okay. So he was a Bama kid. All right. Bama has put out some good wide receivers in the past. Some questionable, but some good. So he blew out his knee. So maybe that's why he just couldn't get part of the offense. He had 16 catches for 158 yards and no touchdowns last year. He's 24. He's 5'11", a $187. That's what his Pro Football Reference page has him listed at. Look, I'm not saying I don't want to trade for him. If he was a former first-round talent that isn't a first-round talent, that's the kind of guy Howie goes after and attacks for very cheaply. And he would still be on his rookie contract, so he'll be cheap to the team for a while. Sure. But that can't be – like, I need somebody I know can step in right now. I'm sorry, but not having depth in an irregular duty, don't let Howie skate on that if Wilson Smith can't contribute. I think Johnny Wilson can contribute, kind of in the way that Lamade Zaccheaus did, as the 4th wide receiver, as the blocking wide receiver, as a special teamer. I don't think Johnny Wilson's ready to step in and be a slot receiver with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. I just don't. And Smith might be the first time Howie's cut a 5th-round pick or better before his first season started. Because there's a chance Smith ain't making this team. The Haason Reddick situation, Michael, is idiotic, asinine, insane, crazy. I have no idea what I want to say about the that situation. It's just complete, pure going on there with Haason Reddick. Like Howie Roseman for the win, knowing that this was going to happen. Howie Roseman for the win, getting a third-round pick. It could turn into a second, but if he doesn't play for the Jets. So I did ask this out there, and somebody did respond, someone that knows more about sports than me. If he gets traded, the snap percentage only counts for the Jets, not whoever he plays for. So if he gets traded or doesn't play for the Jets this year, it's a straight third-round pick that we get in 2026 for Haason Reddick. And that's it. So I don't know. It's a crazy situation. The Jets look foolish for making that trade without a deal in place. Now, someone told me that Reddick promised to play on this last year of the deal if a deal couldn't be made. The Jets are playing hardball and saying, no, we ain't trading him. He could play or keep getting fined. Now, last year, similar situations happened with like Saquon and a couple other running backs, and they all eventually made deals, like restructured one-year deals to make them happy now and whatnot. We'll see. I'm sure Haason Reddick, if he doesn't get traded, will play for the Jets at some point. I'm sure they'll get something worked out. We'll see what it is, though. We need a fast wide receiver to offset our pedestrian speed wideouts. I don't know about pedestrian speed. I'm pedestrian speed. I run a 4.610. Well, no, 4.65. I run a 4.65. That's pedestrian speed, Jack. Mechie had that overtime winner against Auburn. He may be damaged goods, though. So, Mechie for a 7th-round pick, sure. Why not? But that can't be the only answer. You add Mechie to the Wilson, Paris Campbell, and Nia Smith group. You still got to go out and get a guy. I don't know who. Don't ask me who, because I don't know who. But you still got to go out and get a guy. I haven't given up on Smith. Give him a year to develop. Well, you can't give him a year to develop on the active roster, K1. You're not going to waste one of your 53 roster spots on Smith. So either you got to come up with a phantom IR thing so he has time to develop, or B, you got to hope he clears waivers, hope he's bad enough so he can clear waivers, and then you stash him on your practice squad. But I don't know. Houston Texans wide receiver room is stacked, so Mechie is not getting on the field there. Could be a solid addition. It is. No. If the Eagles sign Juju Smith-Schuster, guess what? I am calling a lawyer. I am suing Howie Roseman. And if I do, I'm going to call the best in the state of Pennsylvania, the man that'll fight for you and get you what you deserve. If you need a workers' compensation lawyer, medical vehicle accident, personal injury, criminal law, or you need help trying to present a case to fire somebody on the Eagles or Phillies, call David Archerry, the Cherry Law Firm, 610-565-0300, cherryinjurylaw.com. Make sure you mention EOP, trending in the AM, when you call them or go to their website. Let him fight for you and get you what you deserve. Why would you hire anybody but the best to defend you? David Archerry, the Cherry Law Firm. Again, that number is 610-565-0300. Go to cherryinjurylaw.com. So back to the comment. No. Juju Smith-Schuster better not sniff anywhere near the Eagles' NovaCare complex. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to say it. It's a bad idea. I'd rather John Ross make the team. I mean, John Ross on Friday's preseason game made me miss Quez Watkins for a second. Like I said, I think Reddick was the locker. You said it, and everything that keeps coming out every day, every week here from the Jets camp kind of pushes me in the direction of believing you, Duck. Someone DM'd me some information about him and a player and a wife involved and a little cheating scandal that he was involved with. I'm not going to comment, but it was not a quotable source. Good morning, Eric. How you doing? Smitty is 4. Brown is 4.49. damn fast. 4.57 for Smitty. Okay. All the cherry bombs coming in. I'm just going to put one or two of them up on the screen. I mean, K1, you put cherry bombs in there multiple times. Was that a setup for the cherry ad read? That was a 10. Yeah, it wasn't a setup. I'm so passionate against Juju Smith-Schuster being a Philadelphia. I'll run with Johnny Wilson in my slot over Juju. I don't need any of that bad Juju on my team. Over-under was set for 856 based on yesterday. The under continues. I'm just going to continue. Before long, Joe, it's going to be 801 when I'm doing my cherry ad read, right? Because we keep hitting the under. It's being reported that Sosa could platoon with Stott as Stott bats against righty. Sosa, yeah, I mean, you might as well. I mean, Sosa hasn't been as great as he was earlier in the year when he was on that stretch playing for Turner. Then what happened to Sosa in the outfield? Sosa getting more playing time. Honestly, I mean, he's not an elite player, but he's a hustler. He puts out effort. You got to give him a chance. You got to shake something up with the Phillies. So why not? Would have been an issue in 23 and not 22. Look, I don't know, but it was all contract related to me. I said it before last season started, and some people in the comments of this very show told me I was nuts. I said it before last season. Enjoy it. It's going to be the last year that Haason Reddick plays for the Eagles. Because Reddick was not a problem in 22. He's still part of the new end, the newer portion of his contract. He was new kid in town. We were going to the Super Bowl. But think about it. He's had problems in every city he's played for. He tried to get out of Arizona multiple years before he moved out. He tried to get out of Carolina. He's a guy that forces his way out of city after city, kind of like James Harden, forces his way out of places nonstop. So he has been a problem for multiple organizations at multiple stops throughout his career. Whether he's unhappy with his contract, the style of football he's being forced. I think it was Arizona. He didn't like the way he was being used in the defense. Seems like Haason Reddick might have been a problem long-term his entire career. But when you're winning it, when you're making it to a Super Bowl, sometimes problems get masked. No. We were winning in 22, 23. He wasn't getting what he wanted. Exactly. And I do buy into the argument, the conversation, the talk that maybe he was stat chasing to help pad his stats for that next contract. Look, this is not a knock on. Like, I don't want to turn this into a crush Haason Reddick. Haason Reddick is one of the great blitzers or great guys at getting sacks in the NFL over the last 5 years. One of the best. What's it? 5, 6 straight years of double-digit sacks. There ain't many kids, not many cats in the NFL that can say they've had double-digit sacks as many years in a row as Haason Reddick. But maybe he's a problem. Maybe we were so excited to get the hometown kid back here. We kind of glossed over it. And we were winning in 22. Last year, things didn't go as well. Sean Desai wasn't using them right. He wanted out again. So he's forced his way out of 3 teams so far. He's on a 4th team now, and he ain't even showing up to force it. He's trying to force his way off the Jets before he even plays for the Jets. That honeymoon period lasted 30 seconds. Whose career was better? Haason Reddick's Jets career or Frank Gore's Eagles career at this point? That's right. That's right. You think the Eagles could use Covey in the slot like the Patriots? So here's the thing, and I'm not trying to make a racist comment here, but I kind of feel like, what? All small white boys have to be slot wide receivers? But that's kind of what saying that makes me feel like. But yeah, I like to see Britton Covey get on the field, but there's an obvious reason why he's not on the field regularly. They obviously see something that he just can't do it big picture. Maybe he's just not fast enough. Maybe he's just not as I don't know. He's a great punt returner. So you'd think a great punt returner would work in that role. I don't know. I think it's a tough. I think if it could happen, we would have seen it more by now. But I'm not sure. But I'd like to give it a shot. I'd like to see him have that opportunity just because I'm a fan of the kid. I think the kid is really, taking he's trying the best to maximize the talent he has. I kind of loved Edelman. Julian Edelman was great. Julian Edelman was a defensive back, a wide receiver, a quarterback, literally did anything asked of him by Bill Belichick early in his career until he got the opportunity. Then he took that opportunity and ran with it. So I always loved that about him. Reddick also held his contain well. Problem with Reddick was he rushed the passer at the expense of playing the run. That goes into the argument that he was stat chasing, he was stat padding and whatnot. But all this bitching and moaning about Haason Reddick, the Eagles still have a lack of depth at that defensive edge position. Would it piss you off if Howie got on the phone? Yo, I'll give you a 7th round pick for Haason Reddick, or you could turn that 3rd round pick we gave you into a 4th, and we'll just call it even. Would it be the craziest thing? Can you name something crazier than you trade a player to a team, player refuses to play for that team, so you trade him back, but get less the value, a 3rd? Yeah, like I think it would be so on par with what Howie Roseman does, what Howie Roseman, is capable of. It would be right on par with him. Only he has that next level thinking. Thought is about being savvy at the position with great cohesion with the quarterback. Yeah, so I guess that's not Britton Covey. At least it's not yet. It hasn't been yet. Excuse me. Had to mute the mic for that one. That was a loud one. I would take Reddick back in his talk. Exactly. We're spending 10 minutes laughing and talking about Haason Reddick being the locker room problem. Haason Reddick maybe was part of the issue last year. But we'd take him back in a heartbeat, wouldn't we? Jason does that say Blabin? Was the true one. Yeah, Jason Babin was he was an interesting one. He was a character too, wasn't he? That was during the wide 9 part of our Eagles defense. And the wide 9s run a lot in the NFL, but not to the extent and the way the Eagles ran it back in the day. Like the Eagles ran the wide 19, like it was spread out, and you had no linebackers, you had no way of stopping the run. But you see a formation or a variation of the wide 9 run pretty frequently with the Eagles and around the NFL. The Eagles ran it though back then with 4 down guys. You do it now with 5 technically. The 3 down linemen, your 2 edge rushers, outside linebackers, whatever you call them. Last season, he had 11 sacks, but yeah, he had a hand injury last year, sure. I think, but the year before, when he had 16 and a half, 17 and a half sacks, he didn't have a sack the first 3 weeks last year. I think he didn't have a sack for the first 2 or 3 weeks the year before that. So he's got something like 27, 28 sacks in the last two years. He's got something like 60-some in the last 5 years. It's not, I just think it's a question of whether is he a locker room problem? We're already, trying to rebound the locker room from last year. Do we really want another locker room problem? I don't know. I don't think so. But I would probably take him. It's like, I don't know. I'm concerned about that wide receiver 3 spot for the Eagles, but I'm also concerned that Nolan Smith was still playing in the 3rd quarter last week. A guy that you expect to lead the team in sacks had to play into the 3rd quarter of a game. That doesn't tell me much. Jelix Hunt, can't expect him to do much. Bryce Huff, never done it before. Josh Sweat might have to rebound. We got some serious concerns at defensive end, edge, whatever position you want to call it. We're at the point where Zach Bond, who's earned the right to be the starting interior lineman or linebacker, never played the position before Zach Bond, but was brought in here, and he's earned the right to be the interior lineman. But he's an edge rusher. That's where he specializes on playing on the outside. It would have been great if Nakobe Dean or Jeremiah Trotter Jr. could have grasped the starting role opposite of Devin White. And then you can move Zach Bond over to the edge, adds a little bit more depth there, but you can't because Dean and Trot aren't ready to start. Well, Trot's a rookie, but Dean's in his third year. He should be ready to start. He's just not. Well, Howie brought back a Gardner Johnson after his count. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Chauncey, but they gave him a year. Then we got to wait a year for that. That's not a good look. Players have to realize that when it comes to billion-dollar run corporations, players are not cats. You don't have 9 lives. You could be black. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's not about locker room with Reddick or Eagles nor Jets would want him. It's his limitations. I agree his limitations are part of it. I think part of it could be his personality. And what all I'm saying is Carolina, Arizona, Philly, and now the Jets, before he even plays a game, he's had issues. A guy of Haason Reddick's talent at getting after the quarterback should not bounce around as many teams as he has over the last 6-8 years. Something to talk about today. This is the first time I'm going through a transition of quarterbacks. I grew up to a new, or now, is this also your first transition of quarterbacks or second? Well, I'm sorry. I'm not following this question, Joe. Sorry. Maybe I'm missing something here. This is the first time I'm going through a transition. I don't understand what transition you're going through of quarterbacks. I grew up to a new year. I think there's something wrong with that comment. I'm not sure. We'll get back to that. Was Nolan Smith hurt for camp last year? He was. And that was part of why he struggled to get on the field, period. That's why I don't expect much from Cooper DeJean early this year. But also the fact that he's still playing with the second and thirds in preseason doesn't strike me well. I like compact males of European descent at slot wide receiver. The defense is surprised when he is fast. It catches them off guard. Okay, that's the politically correct way of saying it. I appreciate that, mister. Also trying to figure out who is better or will be better, the Brady Manning Breeze or the new era Mahomes, Allen, Jackson, Hurt. Can't we put Hurts in there? Well, here's the thing. Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time. Patrick Mahomes may supplant him as the greatest quarterback of all time. Josh Allen, I don't think he'll ever win a Super Bowl. Sorry, TMZ. Lamar Jackson is really good. I would take Manning over Allen and Jackson. I would take Breeze. Yeah. So right now, Brady, Manning, and Breeze clearly are better than those three. To be determined if the others can. Mahomes you might be talking about Mahomes, Brady, and Manning in the future. But I don't know about Allen and Jackson. I don't know about that. Reddick's limitations is head and shoulders better than Sweat, Smith, and Huff. Yeah. Who has only had 1 year of double-digit sacks. Huff, and he only played 45% of snaps, Michael, last year. And to me, that's still a massive concern. That not only can he do more, not only has Vic Fangio called him out multiple times in pressers this offseason, not only all that, I can't get behind. Will he even play 50% of the snaps? Reddick was a 75% snap guy on a given Sunday, Monday, Thursday, whenever. Reddick played a lot. Now you're hoping for a rotation of Sweat, Smith, Huff, et cetera, to fill in that role. I don't know. I'll take Reddick back at this point. I really would. But he'd have to understand he ain't getting a contract. I'm not paying Haason Reddick anymore the money he wants. Oh, no. Watch out for Josh Allen and the Bills. Funny how he tricked his former acolyte, Joe Douglas, without having a deal in place. Douglas must be so pissed. What does Joe Douglas do? How does Joe Douglas answer the phone today when Howie Roseman inevitably calls him like, yo, Joe, how you doing, buddy? What's Joe Douglas say to Howie Roseman? And please keep it PG-13. I'm just asking them. Like, Howie Roseman's next level thinking. This is actually a play Haason Reddick went to Howie Roseman, and Howie Roseman went to Haason Reddick. This was months ago. Yo, I got this idea. I'm going to trade you to the Jets. You're going to hold out from the Jets. And then they're going to trade you back to us here at the Eagles for even less. So they're going to give me a third, and I'm just going to give them back a seventh. And then you still play here. And you get all of training camp off. Win-win. This has been like next level thinking between Howie Roseman and a deep, deep plan by Howie Roseman, Haason Reddick, and the agent involved. There's next level stuff going on here. Super deep, deep stuff going on between Howie Roseman, Haason Reddick. And unfortunately, Mr. Joe Douglas gets a lot of hype for the Jets GM. And he does such a great job. I don't know. I don't know what to think of the Jets. The Jets are a team that maybe we'll start, maybe next week we'll start it. We'll pick on top of our Philly talk, we'll pick a division across the league every day next week. We'll start next week and we'll go through the teams in the division, thoughts on the Jets, like in that division. Like, I don't know what to think of the Jets. If Aaron Rodgers is healthy, the Jets probably could be pretty good. I think it's a toss-up between the Jets, Dolphins, and Bills on who wins that division. But I kind of feel like they might not be that good of a team. I think Joe Douglas gets a lot of unnecessary credit for building a team. Reddick doesn't realize his market value. The Jets need an edge rusher, and they still won't pay what he's asking for. Who's his agent? I don't know. You might be right, Michael. The Jets might be an overhyped team. I don't know. I mean, they got talent. They got a really good defense. They might have a hole on the edge now without Haason Reddick. Or not only did you lose Bryce Huff in free agency, you traded for somebody to replace him, and that guy won't play for you either. So they probably got a hole there at edge. But outside of that, they got a strong defense. They got a really good young up-and-coming wide receiver in Garrett Wilson. They got one of the 10 best quarterbacks of all time, maybe 15 best quarterbacks of all time in Aaron Rodgers. I don't put him in the top 5 or 10 guaranteed. I don't put him in the top 10 guaranteed like everybody else. Top 10 to somewhere between 9 and 15 all time, which is still really damn good. I don't know. I don't know what to think about the Jets. I got to think deeper and longer and harder about that. My coffee cup's empty. What are we going to do about it? Well, you know what I would do if I was closer to Ridley Park? I'd call my man PJ over at Dolan's Bar. I'd be like, yo, bring me a coffee. I don't know if he sells coffee. I know he sells alcohol. Great food, great times for 65 plus years. Dolan's Bar has been the quintessential Irish American dive bar in Delaware County. So go check him out, 24 East Sellers Avenue in Ridley Park, my old hometown. Check him out. Have a great night out. DolansBar.com, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Tell PJ and the crew that you heard about him right here on Edge of Philly Sports, trending in the AM. Guys, and make sure you do me a favor and you're watching Trending in the AM, you're hitting that like button. Whatever platform, like, share, subscribe. It is free to click those 3 buttons. It does not cost you a thing to support a local content creator. And not only that, but Edge of Philly Sports, 7-day-a-week programming. There's 5 more shows today. Somehow Fairway to Heaven got cut out. But you got all on the Shane Page today. Birds of the Round Table, Fairway to Heaven, Chalk Talk, Phillies post-game show, all tonight on this channel. So you hit that subscribe button. You turn the notifications on. You do that. You support. It is free to tell a friend or tell a coworker or tell a neighbor to subscribe, to help a content creator grow their platform. So please, guys, do that. Please hit that like button for me, whichever platform. Retweet if you're on Twitter. We had 1 Twitter comment today only. You know, you can comment on Twitter, but you got to click on the box, open up the video, comment in that box there, not underneath the tweet, guys. Yeah, Fairway. I had to skip Fairway last week, so I got cut from the schedule already. There's only 3 more weeks of Fairway, K1. There is. You missed my big win on Aaron Rye last week. We got this FedEx St. Jude Championship. Guys, I know a lot of you aren't golf fans, but tune in tonight, okay, to Fairway to Heaven. I've got a very, very serious conversation I want to have about Grayson Murray. If you don't know who Grayson Murray is, you can look up his story. But also, this is the St. Jude Classic, St. Jude Championship, whatever you want to call it. And I ask you all to go look at St. Jude's website. And if you can afford a few bucks, make a small donation to St. Jude. I am pledging half of whatever I win this week to St. Jude's. So check them out, guys. Fairway to Heaven tonight, 6 p.m. Yeah, that's right. Dolan's Bar. Analytics say that edge rushers don't equate to Super Bowl victories. When was the last time a great edge rusher won a championship? I don't know. Tell me. No, we got an answer right away. Von Miller. When did he win his championship? So, the Watts, J.J. Watt, T.J. Watt, they haven't won a Super Bowl. None of the Bosa's. Joey Bosa! None of the Bosa's have ever won one. Haason Reddick hasn't won one. I'm just trying to go through my head of the best right now in the league. Who's the edge rusher of the Chiefs? Their big guy, Jones, he's more of an interior guy, right? Not an edge guy. So I'm just trying to think about how to answer this question. I guess Von Miller might be the last one. I'm not really sure. Not really sure the answer to that one, but I guess it's got to be. I guess it's got to be that. All right, guys, real quick. We got the final 10 minutes of the show today. What are we looking for from the joint practices today? What are we looking for? What are we looking at? Do we care? I care about the joint practices. I enjoy the joint practices. But I'm asking you, do you? What do you think of them? What are you looking for with the joint practices? If somebody dropped a $1,500 super chat, Eric, for real in my Venmo account right now, I'd be taking half of it and sending it to St. Jude right now. I would. 100%. But do you care about these joint practices? To me, this is the most realistic chance to get your starters real game reps with a controlled environment versus the uncontrolled preseason game environment. The thing with preseason game is it's not controlled. You got rookies trying to earn jobs. Sometimes they might push it a little too far, which risks injuries and stuff like that. Absolutely. So for those that won't tune into Fairway to Heaven, I'm going to, I'm just going to spend, forget about the joint practice. I'm going to talk about Grayson Murray for a second. And I'm going to talk about it again tonight on my golf show. But Grayson Murray, unfortunately, committed suicide. He's a PGA Tour golfer, won this year on the event. The way golf works, it's the FedEx Cup playoffs. You earn points every week when you play. And the top 70 golfers in this season make the playoffs. Playoffs, okay? Grayson Murray, with his win and his performance this year, made the playoffs. Even though he unfortunately passed away over a month ago, 2 months ago, he still was in the top 70. So they left his name in the standings all year, even though he had passed away. But then as soon as the playoffs start this week, they removed him and put player number 71 into that spot. They bumped everyone up a slot. And I would have thought the PGA Tour has had so much bad publicity this year. So much bad publicity. I wanted to see the PGA Tour leave him in. Okay? Whoever finishes in. So the way the playoffs work, the top 70 play this weekend. Okay? In an event. Then whoever's in the top 50 after this week, move on to the BMW Championship next week. And then whoever the top 30 from that are, move into the Tour Championship the following week. First place of the Tour Championship is $25 million. But even who finishes in 70th place this week, which would be Grayson Murray because he wouldn't play, last place is $40,000. They should have left him in, let him collect that $40,000 check, give it to his parents who are struggling probably, or make a donation in his name to mental health awareness. I think the PGA Tour should have done something like that to honor Grayson Murray, who was very, very blatantly open about his struggles, who 2-3 years ago helped push the PGA Tour into an area where they are now, where they have mental health coaches on tour with them, that they help. He's the first professional golfer to open up about mental struggles, about drugs and alcohol and stuff like that. We see it with our football players and our basketball players and baseball players going into rehab and treatment. We don't really think of the golf guys like that. That's golf, whatever. But Grayson Murray has massively struggled throughout his life. And unfortunately, he lost his battle. I would have liked to have seen the PGA Tour do something with his slot, more so than just bumping him out and bumping number 71 up. To me, it seems on paper like the right thing to do. But publicly speaking, emotionally speaking, I would have liked to have seen Grayson Murray name left in there. I'll leave it to that. We'll talk more about it tonight on the show tonight. Starting one-trick ponies is rarely a good idea. That's a Haason Reddick comment for sure. Is James Bradbury starting opposite Slay, or is he in the slot? He is not a cornerback on this team anymore, Michael. Not at all. Nope, 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 nope. James Bradbury is not a cornerback. He is a safety, and that is it. There's 6 safeties or cornerbacks at least on this roster that are better than James Bradbury. Slay, Rodgers, Quinion, they're your starting 3. Ringo, really close behind. Avonte Maddox, safety cornerback. All head and shoulders above James Bradbury. Just going to say that right now. Okay? Cooper DeJean, who hasn't even played a game yet, is ahead of James Bradbury, in my opinion. James Bradbury didn't make any flashy plays on Friday night, but that's probably good. You don't want your safety making flashy plays. It means he's helping out in coverage just well. That no one's getting over the top of the defense. So, James Bradbury is making this roster as the 3rd or 4th safety on this team. No doubt it. Now, when Sidney Brown comes off the IR or the PUP list or whatever, now then maybe James Bradbury gets cut depending on how he's playing. I don't know how that's going to work out. No, he's not. Right now, Quinion Mitchell, Cuba, is your starting slot cornerback. We saw it on Friday in the game. We're seeing it in practice. Vic Fangio wants to put the 3 best players on the field at those positions. And Quinion Mitchell, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Quinion Mitchell is already one of the 3 best. He's probably the most purely talented cornerback on the team. Quinion Mitchell will be the number 1 cornerback on this team when the season's over. No doubt about it. Avonte Maddox, I joked, could get cut. He's not going to get cut now because they're getting him back into the groove at safety. He's your backup safety / backup slot guy. That's what Avonte Maddox is right now. Cleo Mack, nope. Micah Parsons, nope. Max Crosby, nope. Mind you, Cleo Mack has bounced around to some pretty bad teams. Micah Parsons plays on the Cowboys. That's all you got to say there. And Max Crosby plays for the Raiders, right? I mean, the Raiders ain't dropping nothing right now. Josh Jobe is probably better than Bradbury at this point. Probably a corner. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, he's in the safety, and that is it. So it's Slay, Ringo, Mitchell. It's Slay, Rodgers, and Mitchell right now. Ringo still technically has a shot, but I don't think so. I think it's pretty set in stone that Rodgers is starting opposite of Slay. Ringo's your first guy off the bench. Yes, Eric, I think they should have left it in. They dropped the ball, put his name on the jacket, and give it to his parents. Absolutely. If I'm on the tour, I get to the top 70 to take up a – absolutely. Absolutely with you. Like, I mean, it sounds like $40,000 doesn't sound like much money to professional athletes and stuff like that. The guy earned the right. He lost his battle with his demons. It's unfortunate. It happened. But you could have used this moment to bring more awareness to athletes, to just random individuals about struggles that athletes struggle. You could have used this as a moment to bring more light to mental health awareness issues. You could have. But they dropped the ball. They just bumped them, put the next guy in. And look, I get it. You want your 70 golfers playing, but I don't know. Remember when Deebo Samuel called James Bradbury trash and he didn't do anything about it? That was the yeah. Remember when we put trash cans out inside of the NovaCare complex with his name on it? But then somebody else decided to go host like a pep rally for the cornerbacks instead. There was a moment, and yes, I'm calling you out, Jake, and company. I love you guys. But there's a moment to prove how soft Philly sports fans have gotten. Let's have a pep rally to support our struggling cornerbacks versus booing them as they deserve. Strahan won a Super Bowl, right? I hope Vic can light a fire under Ricks this season. He has talent. Yeah, K1, it's interesting that you bring up Eli Ricks. Is it a brain thing? Does he not have the football IQ? Like, he was right there with Keely Ringo last year getting opportunities. I haven't heard his name once throughout camp, throughout practices. I don't know if I saw him on the field on Friday. I mean, it was a pretty boring game. Like, I don't. What's the problem with you? Is it football IQ? Because I thought last year, the moments he had some opportunities. I've heard some people say cornerback, some people say slot for him. I don't think he played that much worse last year than Keely Ringo. I think the Eagles cutting Bradbury will cost more against the cap. Yeah, well, no. So he's still an Eagle because whether you cut him on June 2nd when you could cut him, or if you cut him August 31st, it costs you the same amount. So you might as well let him practice and try and see. And maybe somebody calls up and trades for him. Hell, hey, Howie Roseman, get on the phone with Joe Douglas. Call the Jets. Be like, yo, I'll swap you James Bradbury for Haason Reddick. Ah, that would be great. Absolutely. And I disagreed with that as well, Joe. But Phillies fans are softer. So I get it. Eagles fans are supposed to be tougher. And I love the Talking 215 crew. They're my guys. Love them. Love Talking 215. Jake and company. The coach. I just like to see the coach wear some sleeves occasionally and whatnot. They do great work. Love them. But doing a pep rally? Stop. Frank Clark. Strand won a Super Bowl when football players were still wearing leather helmets. Yeah. Ricks was a 5-star coming to LSU, then went to Bama, slid to a third-day pick. Something wrong there. Yeah. I'm confused on, like, I understand not hearing Zach McPherson's name coming off a big injury last year. You know, he's not 100%. Maybe he's fighting for a spot. He was already a fringe player. But Eli Ricks was a guy that got playing time last year. I don't know. It's weird to me, Eli Ricks. Anyway, guys, we got to start the wrap-up process here. Tomorrow we'll be breaking down practice. Who wins the practice? Will tomorrow's title be Eagles win practice, or will tomorrow's title be Eagles lose practice? I don't know. We'll find out. Hopefully it's win practice. But with that being said, guys, please hit that like button, that share button, the subscribe button. Again, free to do it. I'll be back here at 6 p.m. I don't know who's going to be with me. I think Jason's got football practice with his kid again tonight. Maybe I'll get Stevie. Maybe I'll find somebody to join me tonight. I don't know. Or I'll just go solo talking this week. St. Jude Classic or Championship. I always want to call it the Classic, but it's Championship. I don't know. Anyway, with that being said, we are wrapping up this show for the day, guys. I am Phil Stiefel. Find me on Twitter at Bearded Knowledge, on Instagram, TikTok, wherever. See you tonight, 6 p.m. Fairway to heaven. Be back tomorrow. Hit that subscribe and like button, please. I greatly appreciate it. For Edge of Philly Sports, I'm Phil Stiefel. This is Trend in the AM. I will see you guys tomorrow. Go Birds. Ring the bell. Bubbles up to you guys.